Hello and welcome to another episode of Pause for Payments. I'm Kristy Duncan and I'm really delighted to be here today chatting with Johanna Skoog, who's Managing Director and Head of U.S. Treasury Payments and Solutions for Capital Markets at BMO, based in Chicago. Welcome, Johanna.
Good morning, Kristy. I'm excited to be here with you today.
Awesome. Today, Johanna and I are going to discuss career planning. Planning, which is so essential and integral to any journey or choice that we make, is especially so when we're planning our careers. Planning can help identify the skills and the development that we need, often leading to progression or even a new path and a passion. Johanna, can we start this discussion by talking about your role at BMO and what you do there?
Sure. So as you said, Managing Director and Head for Global Transaction Banking, focusing on Treasury Payment Solutions. So I run a team of about 16 people. We're going to grow again next year. And we cover the U.S. for essentially Treasury management. And we cover all the various sectors. So food, consumer, retail, industrials, commercial real estate, healthcare, insurance, utilities, sponsor fund, leverage lending, you name it, we cover it. And we do it on an approach of vertical specialization. So all our people specialize in the sector where they are working.
Awesome. And I love product, being a former product manager, product director myself. It's one of my favorite roles I ever had. And you got this fabulous role, Johanna. I'm really jealous. Can you tell us how career planning led you to this role?
Sure. So I think when I started out in treasury management, it was sort of by accident. A friend had just gone into treasury management and said, "Hey, you should try this out. I really like it. If I like it, you'll like it." And so that is, full disclosure, was not really career planning, except for knowing and people that were like me and that liked similar things. So I did start in treasury management, and I did essentially fall in love with it. I liked the creativity. I liked working with clients. I liked that it was a different thing every day. So getting back to career planning, I started out with a commercial focus, so smaller customers. And I was very interested in what my colleagues were doing when they were working with the big three automotive and some of the other really large companies around Detroit and in the Midwest. So I wanted to learn more and more about that. So I would bug them to show me their decks and tell me about their clients. And so that was sort of what started me on the path. And then I decided, well, if I really want to call on very large corporates, I need to get my MBA. So I did that. And one thing sort of led to another, where I just kept pushing to get larger and larger clients. And I knew I was good because I was at the top of the charts in sales. And it's hard to ask for something if you aren't really performing. When you're really performing and hitting it out at the park, then people are listening because they think, well, if she can do this, she can do more. And so that's how I ended up covering the WIM group, which was Wisconsin, Illinois, and Minnesota, where I eventually relocated. And so from there, I started, after a little gap, with a different bank here. And again, it was sort of the same story, but this time I was really interested in specializing instead of being a large corporate generalist. So I went down the route of specializing in insurance and utilities. And what I did was I found other people that covered it. And again, I was a little bit of a pest because I wanted to know everything that they were doing. And I used my sort of colleague connections to get that role. And then I did that. And I have to admit, I absolutely loved it. And then we had sort of a leadership change where I was, and that's how I ended up at BMO. And I'll be the first to admit my initial plan was to leave where I was and ride out my non-compete, except for when I got to BMO, I really loved it here. And I thought, okay, I'm in commercial at BMO. I need to just somehow spin this around and get back to large corporate, which I did. Same type of thing, making the right connections. And from there, I was actually asked to interview for this job because I had made the connections and I had done the hard work of showing what I could do and how we could move the needle as an organization. So I was asked to interview. I interviewed gladly. And 6 weeks after that, I was in my role. And it's been
Fantastic.
using those connections to help build out our team ever since.
So I love this. You've got it. There's a few pieces here. There's knowing, recognizing you needed some more education. So building that toolkit, pushing for larger clients, performing and getting the track record that you needed to get some credibility or build credibility. Starting as a generalist, but then moving more into a specialist role. And I love how the connections of the network threads its way through all of that.
You can never know too many people. You can.
Oh, I want to quote you on that.
So people laugh when I say I use the friends and family approach. I try to make friends wherever I go. I try to meet as many people as I can. And I tend to meet a lot of treasury management type people or people that are in treasury because for some reason I love it. And we always have something in common to talk about. And it's connections help you. I think that that's the one thing I would like to say about career planning is that you need to have those connections. People like to work with people they know. People like to work with people that they know are going to do a really good job.
Fantastic. Yeah, no, I fully agree, Johanna. It's one of my mantras has always been building that network. And you're right, people want to work with people they like and people they know who can deliver and will do a great job. Fantastic. So just on the side, did you always envision yourself in a payments role?
Oh my goodness, no. So I did have some other diversions along in my career. And part of what I would say with career planning is to know yourself, not only what you're good at, but what you like. So I found that I am a very good auditor and I hate it. Not a good choice for me. I also was a banker for a period of time. And just because I'm a good banker doesn't mean I enjoy it. There was just not enough creativity for me and not enough immediate problem solving. So this was the right fit for me. So no, I didn't. I've done a bunch of different things. I stepped out for 8 years and did not-for-profit work. And I learned so much from doing not-for-profit work. However, it doesn't pay really well. And if you want to send children to college, you probably need to be making money. So I went back to treasury management because I loved it.
Makes sense. Well, it's always fantastic if you can do something that you love, for sure. So this is a great story, Johanna. I want to dig a little deeper, and I know that taking steps to understand yourself and what motivates and ignites your passion while being aware of your shortcomings and weaknesses can influence the decisions that we make in our careers. What would you say are the most important aspects of career planning?
So first of all, you need to allocate time to be doing the career planning. You know, most people will spend more time buying a car than they will doing their career planning. So that means not just when you get your PPA, your review at year end, not just when you've completed a large project, but you should be thinking about it every month. Am I moving towards where I want to go? When I'm asked to serve on a committee, does that committee help me fulfill or further my goal of where I want to be? Am I getting new skills? Am I refining skills? Am I making connections? What is it besides the actual committee am I gaining from doing this work? And if I don't see it, then maybe my answer should be no. And I should move to doing a different committee or a different initiative that will help me move along with my career. So, okay, if you're in a job, for me, I knew that I wanted to work with larger, more complex clients. So I looked at that and I thought to myself, how am I going to get that? Who do I need to know to get that? What skills do I need to get that? When I look at their pitch decks, or I look at, if they would, sometimes they'd let me join a call. What am I missing that I need in order to deliver like this? Who else do I need to know? What products do I need to know? How do I need to position myself? And I spent a lot of time sort of charting that out on what I needed to do. And it wasn't just, it happened by accident, or somebody called me up and said, you're not ready at all. You have no experience, but hey, would you like this job? That's not how it works. It's a methodical process over time. And I positioned myself by finishing my MBA. I knew that I had additional skills. I had done more presentations. It didn't hurt me that some of my professors were executives at Ford Motor. That didn't hurt me.
Fantastic. So important to plan. We plan so many things in our lives, as you say, taking more time to buy a car than to plan our career makes sense in many of our cases. So I want to switch gears a little bit and talk about this incredibly hot payments market that we're working in now. And I mean, it's a bit of a double-edged sword. It's really interesting, but it's sometimes hard to keep up with it all. How important do you think it is, Johanna, to understand that the markets that we work in, for the work that we do?
I think it's critical. So I would say that individuals should be spending at least a couple hours a week reading anything that they can get their hands on, researching, so that they understand. This is, in my entire career, I've never seen anything move this fast. And I think it is moving fast because the fintechs are pushing us. So the other things that need to be taken into account are, if we have real-time payments and we're processing payments 24/7, does that mean people are working in Treasury 24/7 to apply the payments? What exactly does this mean from a human perspective? And I see a lot about pushing the payments, pushing the detail. I'm not seeing as much research to show me what this is going to mean from a human perspective. If you're in a corporation, I understand how it works for individuals. I send Bob, $1,000, he gets it, he goes, he spends it, whatever. How does this happen? And how are we going to manage this from a human perspective within a corporate? That's my question. And I do not have the answer for that for you today.
No, but it's important that we are thinking about this and understanding the implications, not only within the corporate environment and the corporate treasury operation, but to the humans who are working in this environment, to the humans who are both benefiting and impacted by this new 24/7 environment. It's very true. Johanna, you've had this fabulous career and done a number of roles across the industry. Have there been points in your career when you've had to negotiate for salary? Can you talk about that a little bit?
Yes. So that is true. And that's an important part of managing your career. So first of all, if you're at the top of your game and you're a top performer, you need to know what your value is in the marketplace. So if you needed to leave your role, how much would somebody else pay you? And are you getting paid that today where you are? So at one point in my career, I felt I was being given a salary increase that was less than perhaps another gender. And so I refused it. And my boss was very unhappy. However, it went to HR and it resulted in going from 2% to a 10% salary increase, which was very meaningful to me. And it told me that I wasn't being paid appropriately. And ever since then, I have not hesitated to push back if I did not think I was being compensated correctly or asking more questions. At my previous firm before this one, I had an instance where I was very confident I was being undervalued. And so I had done my research on where I would have been paid if I were at a different firm. And I did get a mid-year salary adjustment as a result. The lesson is, if you don't ask, you will not receive that, because nobody is going to just hand it to you. You need to be prepared. You need to have your facts and demonstrate your value.
That's such great insight, Johanna. I totally agree. Knowing your worth, knowing your value, and asking for it is something that we probably don't do often enough, and should take your lead to make sure that we do that going forward.
Agreed.
So thank you for those thoughts, Johanna. I would like to close our discussion today by asking a question that I ask all of our Pause for Payments guests. And that is, we've talked about the importance of career planning today, but if you were thinking about career advice that you might give your younger self, or career advice that you could give to the rising stars in our audience, what would that be?
Here's where I fell short. I did not have a mentor. I would have a mentor. I would look for a sponsor that's going to actively help me raise my career. And I would look for somebody that would give me the unvarnished truth. So a honest person, a truth teller, whatever you want to call that person, that might be what you don't really want to hear. However, you really do need to hear it. I would look for those three people, and maybe an advocate as well, but your sponsor could be your advocate. So I would say, if you have the ability to have those three people in your life, in your career life, whether they're internal at your company or external, I would highly advise that. And some of those things didn't happen for me till later in my career. And I think it could have boosted me forward earlier and faster if I had.
That is such great advice. And I agree. Those sounding boards and people with more wisdom and experience can really help guide us and help us to go in the direction, and maybe get there a little bit faster because we're going in perhaps a straighter path. This has been a great discussion. It's been wonderful to hear your career journey and how you've planned each step quite deliberately and gotten the tools that you need, made the connections that you've needed, and moved from generalist to specialist, but also taken the time to plan your career. I love that you're recommending people take time to keep current with this hot industry, because we are in such a sizzling hot market. It's a great place to be at the moment. And then finding that mentor and sponsor, or the advocate, someone who can tell us our truths that we may or may not want to hear, but help us to move forward in our careers. Absolutely bang on advice. Thank you, Johanna.
Thank you.
This has been a great discussion. I thank everybody for listening today. I encourage all of you to join us as we explore every week the world of payments, speaking to another amazing woman from around the world of payments. So thank you for joining us.
Thank you, Kristy.